Alex Colvin here again, sharing some of my artwork. This one is called the Raphaella in the Moonlight. Here's Raphaella. And here's the moonlight, or Raphaella by the waterfall. And this takes us back again to the story of Mortimus, the mystical warrior monk, and Raphaella, because Raphaella has returned to Brazil here and gone up into the high peaks of the Andes, where she's thinking about Mortimus and what he's doing, because he hasn't been communicating with her lately. But actually, Mortimus is actually in this picture, not in his physical form, but he's here in spirit, because Mortimus has learned from Cucumandu, the Brazilian shaman, how to astrally project in his dreams. He's become a master of the dream. And for a while he was coming into Raphaella's dreams, and and they were dreaming together, talking and engaging in intimate behavior. And but then he stopped, and Cucumandu and Raphaella and Wanda and Fat Harry would get together around the fire at night, and they could feel that Mortimus was there watching over them, but he wouldn't say anything and he wouldn't appear. So Raphaella would go up to this waterfall at night, and she would intensely feel Mortimus's presence, but no communication. But there would be sort of like a scintillating light coming off of the water and in the sky that was like fairy dust trying to emerge into particles and ideas. But Mortimus was holding back. He wanted to embrace Raphaella, but he was thinking things through, because this was after Mortimus's attempted escape from the internment camp in Idaho, where they would let him swim and he could stay underwater for indefinite periods of time. And they thought there was no problem, because the camp, it was all enclosed by electrified barbed wire and electronic surveillance systems. But he would go in the water, and what they didn't know is that he was burrowing through the mud in the banks. And he had burrowed through, and he notified, because they let him do email at that time, Raphaella and Cucumandu, and in the dreams, that he was going to try to escape, because he had found a campground not far away. And so Raphaella was in the United States doing a fashion gig in Las Vegas, and because normally she lives in Brazil. She's a Brazilian supermodel, but she was up in the States. So she went, got their friend that they had known from before, Fat Harry, who had a cabin up in Idaho. And they went to this campground, and they discovered that the campground had been closed to the public and taken over by Homeland Security to use as a training facility. And tried to warn Mortimus, but they didn't warn him in time, so he came bursting out of the mud into this Homeland Security, screaming, free at last, and within minutes was surrounded by Homeland Security forces and returned back to the internment camp. And after this, they kept him more confined. But because of this ability that he had, and a number of other abilities that he had that they did, then they played on his childhood fantasies of being a secret agent, and naval intelligence and the CIA recruited him. So anyway, this was during that period of time when he was thinking things through. What did he want to do? And getting in touch with unfulfilled parts of himself that he was beginning to think, maybe I can do this, maybe this will be really cool to do. He wasn't very good with authority, but he thought that, anyway, he shaped this in his own mind so that he could do these things. And so this picture just kind of shows, Raphaella, during this period of time where she was very uncertain because she was used to, hearing from him. And so suddenly now she's not hearing from him. He's in the dark recesses. And so this is just a little excursion. I don't have too much to say about the painting. The painting itself pretty much, is what it is. But I just thought I would use this opportunity to share a little bit more about the adventures of Mortimus, the mystical warrior monk, and Raphaella, the Brazilian supermodel.